everyone, and we're back. We're here at the Check Drop. Today is Monday, August 31st, and wow, August just flew by, didn't it? This year is just actually kind of flying by, which is weird, but yeah. But anyways, we're going to jump right into this. My first guest is the only guest today, and you're gonna love this guy. Super nice guy, just one of those great comedians that I've never heard anybody say anything bad about this guy. He's just a really nice one. Let's talk about him. So his first stand-up special, Stay at Home Son, was recently released on Showtime. He played the role of Mr. Trujillo on the Netflix series Mr. Iglesias and is the host of Tacos Con Todo, the newest web series from First We Feast Hot Ones. Please welcome to the Check Drop, Jesus Trejo. What's up, Jesus?
What's up, man?
Man, I am so happy to have you, man.
Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting, man. Good to see you, Chuck.
Yeah, man. We've known each other for, I don't know, a few years, and we used to do a lot of colleges together.
Mm-hmm.
And your star was just shooting up so high. Like it's hard to keep you in wraps.
No, it was we did our share of colleges, and it was fun. And yeah, man, we're just grinding. We're trying to find what the new normal looks like for us now. So we're just trying to keep busy. Trying to stay busy here at home and seeing where this year takes us and set ourselves up nicely for next year.
Yeah, man. Well, you're one of those comics that is a little bit outside of the box as far as the 2020 goes. It seems like you have so much on your plate and you're doing so much work, and with all these specials and your web series and such, you're kind of like an anomaly this year. So.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like I'm always working. I like to, stay busy. I always kind of have something on the stove cooking. And, this year, because of one thing or another, it just happened to be the year where all these things started slowly coming out. And I was very grateful that I had put in the work, a few years beforehand to kind of set myself up for something like this. But then, the unfortunate side is, yes, the COVID of it all. But, it's cool to still have content, be able to put out content during this time. And, and also makes you think and makes you think to see how things are being structured now. It's like, is this something that's going to be sustainable going into the next year? Is stand-up going to be around? And, I've been fortunate to do those drive-in movie theater shows. I, went on the road with Bert, and that was cool to get my feet wet in that regard. So.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. You mentioned Bert Kreischer. So you're one of the opening acts, and you've been an opening act for him for a couple years now, right?
Yeah, I opened for him I've been opening for him for a few years now, and it was cool. I was with him when he was doing clubs, and he made the leap into theaters, and then COVID happened, and then he had to find a new way to tour, and he wanted to experiment and kind of try out this thing with the drive-in movie theaters. And I did the first leg of the tour, and it was great. The hang was great, the shows were great. It was it was all around good. It was a great experience.
Now you mentioned it, was that his idea or like Levity's? I know you're both under Levity management. So was that a combination of, did you all sit down early on in COVID and said, all right, shit, we need to figure out something to pivot and make some income?
That was all Bert Kreischer's idea. I mean, he's a guy with many ideas, and he likes to take risk. And it's one of those things where he just kind of like, he likes to think outside of the box. It's one of the things I love working with him, because I see how he approaches a problem. Most people see a problem and they try to find like that first solution that comes to mind, but he digs a little deeper and tries to find the fun thing. And I mean, that drive-in movie theater was just a prime example of that. He was able to find a way that works, and he had never done anything like that. The production had never done anything like that, and we as opening acts, same thing. So it was new for everybody, and I think the journey of learning, and I guess learning in the moment for everybody is it brings you together. It's a fun thing, lots of laughs if something doesn't go right. Like, I remember the first show I went up there, and the sound, I don't know, was like being transmitted correctly or for whatever reason. So I'm up there talking, and again, it's a drive-in movie theater, so there was a Vin Diesel trailer playing above me, which I had no idea. It's like way above there. So I'm talking about
during your set?
Yeah, during my set, I'm opening, and I'm talking about mustard or whatever. And then later, a couple of people were hitting me up. It's like, you were doing some mustard bit, but all we saw was Vin Diesel, like movie trailers. So I'm like, oh, that's fun. That's a great way to bomb. But it was new. It was, I remember at one point in that first set, like 3 minutes into my act, I go, guys, this is only my worst nightmare. And that's exactly when the sound kicked in. So I heard a huge roar coming from people. So I'm like, okay, they can hear me now. So that's good.
Well, like as an agent, and I'm always kind of, I look at the, like you said, the production aspect of it. That had to have been a whole new thing to get used to, because usually you just roll into a theater and they're already set. You know, they've got their sound and lights. It's just, you know, they got a sound guy, they got a light guy, just flick a switch, and they're probably just used to it. Like, hey, we just had in Bill Burr last week or whatever. They just kind of roll with the punches and just know what to do. Like, how does that work? Because a drive-in movie theater does not have a typical stage and sound and lights to produce a show like this. So how have you guys, do you have a production crew that follows you around, or do you rent them out at each location? How does that work?
I'm not too I don't know much about the production side of things, but I do know that there was another production truck following Bert, you know, from city to city, and they kind of like set up stage and stuff. And as far as the sound and that kind of thing, I don't know if they work with the drive-in theaters or how that worked, but by the time we got to the city, it was set up. We would do sound check, and, you know, there was, you know, people there with cameras projecting us on stage on the big screen, and then, you know, making sure that the sound was being transmitted into all the cars. So, I mean, that was, I think, the biggest challenge early on, at least for me. I speak for myself, that, you know, you're basically performing in a vacuum. You don't have that immediate reaction that we're used to as comics. Even in the most intimate setting, like in a theater, you still have people there, and it's like the laughs are enclosed. But now you're outside. You know, people are in their cars. So that was, I think, the biggest challenge for me, not being able to hear the immediate reaction of people. But as the tour went on, people were like, you know, setting up chairs right out front of their cars, or if they had pickup trucks, they kind of do a tailgate action and they sit in the back of their truck bed. And then after a while, we all figured out that we got to play to that first row of cars. And, you know, there's a couple hundred cars, you know, there. So it's hard to even play or hear any reaction past, I don't know, maybe the fifth row. Fifth row is basically max.
Right. Well, that's probably just like in, I guess, like concerts and such. I'm sure the bands do the same thing. They have that, you know, they can't necessarily reach the person all the way in the back, and, you know, just always just play to the front, and it'll kind of transpire throughout the back. I mean, obviously, you had to like learn to, you know, put an additional pause in your set and such, like after each joke and such. Just to, the timing, I'm sure, was off for at least a couple weeks to get that going.
We definitely, I feel like everyone kind of figured it out after like the second show. By then, everyone's had been adjusted. But yes, it's like, even when you play like a bigger setting, you do slow down your jokes, and, you know, you kind of wait for the laugh to go up and then return back to you, kind of thing. But it's like a little bit. But now I think it's more of even like you learn to pace yourself. You know, it's like you're speaking a little slower, just so everything can hit, you know, that there's a delay. You just kind of speak a little, it forced me to speak a little more clear and get through like a whole thought or an idea. And more or less, you can kind of figure out where the laughs are. And then the more you do it, you're just kind of looking out. And again, any little laugh helps. So sometimes it's a camera guy, sometimes it's a comic waiting to get up, you know, next, like whoever I'm bringing up next, you're going off their laugh. And or the security that were like kind of around the stage, you just kind of go off of their laughs, like somebody who's hearing the joke for the first time.
Right. Well, I guess, you know, there's a whole concept of you can't really play to the crowd and do crowd work anymore in that scenario. Because I've seen some of the videos that you guys. I mean, some of this, it's like 50 to 100 yards distance between you and the stage in that first car, right?
Absolutely. It's well over like 50 yards minimum, you know, because you do have the stage is big, and then they have the, you know, the camera guys set up, and then behind that there's like a barricade, and then there's like a aisle for the cars to kind of pass by, and then that's your first row of cars there, and it's like, ugh. So
Well, like you said, flying to the front row, it's still like, oh, looking out, going, hey,
yeah,
high beam me if you're watching.
yeah, and I initially thought that the people were gonna be like honking. It's like you're putting audience members in the ultimate heckling machine. You know, there's a horn, there's
Right.
high beams, there's a car that they just turn on, and now it's
Start
like
on fire. Like, oh,
yeah.
we got a problem over there in lot C.
Yeah, it was interesting, but people were very respectful. They didn't honk or flash their lights to the end. Bert made it a point to say, "Hey, thank you guys so much. If you want to honk your horns or flash your lights, thank you guys so much." And it was almost like the new normal for Bert was essentially getting a standing ovation, but that's what it looked like: people honking, flashing their
Right.
lights, and he would bring us on stage to kind of wave at people and just to kind of soak that in. And it's crazy. It feels good, but man, it definitely takes a little getting used to and building up, building your confidence up, because it's not what we're used to.
Yeah, well, I mean, every comedy club in the country always has some kind of disclaimer going over the rules before each show and such. Do you guys have a set thing in there, like that shows a video or going over the rules of the? Because
Sure, it's the same thing.
nobody knows the new rules, right? I mean, when you go, I've never gone to a drive-in movie theater to go see a comedy show, so you would expect some kind of instructions and like, hey, hand holding of how this is can actually run. So
Yeah, it just I think the number one rule, and they had like in the in the screen they kind of had some rules and stuff, but it was just like essentially it was be mindful, and it's like if people are honking, and then it's like some of those drive-in theaters had like houses were around that property, so it's like, hey, be mindful, that kind of thing. But yeah, people were very respectful, and it showed. And especially during this time, I mean, people want to go out, they want to have a good time, they haven't seen comedy in a while, so I think people were just happy to be out and were very respectful. And yeah, they don't, like, nobody was there to ruin anyone's fun, and everyone there was just they were just so excited to be there, as we were. We were excited as comics, not being able to perform for that long and being able to go out there and bring a show.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I have to assume if you live near a drive-in movie theater, you're probably used to like the loud noises or whatever that's coming from
Sure.
the event or whatever that's going on around there. I mean, tell me some of the stories. I mean, you guys just look like you have a blast on the road. I mean, the whole concept of the people saying that comedians don't work for a living. I mean, you're doing everything right? I mean, and the best job in the world. But man, you guys look like you're doing it right. I mean, I follow all of you guys, you and Dave and Bert and Dave with his cooking skills. Like I just want to follow him around and just eat.
Oh my God, he can definitely cook, man. It was so the leg of the tour that I was on was Dave Williamson and Shane Torres and Bert, and we just had a ball. It was like we were eating nonstop, and Dave has this smoker that he had on the bus, so it's like every stop there was something in that smoker being cooked. And I mean, we ate a lot. I mean, I gained some weight. I was just excited to be back home and eat some vegetables. My body hadn't tasted a vegetable in a clear, in a good 2 weeks, man. So as soon as I got back, I made this green smoothie that I like to drink. It's like kale, spinach, celery, a little bit of a lemon juice, and oh man, my body was very thankful. And yeah, it's like I had to clean the body out a little bit.
I know. I've been saying too. It seems like the stories are either it goes, hey, I've lost all this weight during COVID, or I've gained all this weight. I call it I gained the COVID-19 pounds. So
yeah. I heard that the other day. I heard a friend say, it's like the quarantine 15 is like, man, that's it. That's I think I gained more than 15. I mean, especially on tour, it was just, I mean, basically the hangout was food, laughs, and repeat. We have a brew here and there. that was fun. But yeah, just the food was great, and we were all on the tour bus. I mean, super cautious. The tour manager, everybody, the production was just, they did it right. So it's like, how does one operate and be safe and make sure that we're able to do this again? And it's like everyone had to keep tight in the tour bus and be really safe. We took all our precautions, and thank God we all came back healthy. There was no problems, and
Right.
um, you know
Yeah, because it doesn't make any difference if you if you go out on this tour and then come back in 4 days and you're like, we're all sick.
yeah,
And,
if one of us is careless, it's like we're essentially ruining the tour for Bert. And to be able to do it again, like this is a big deal. So we were all, nobody minded it, because it's just what needs to happen in order for us to have a successful tour. So usually when we're on tour, we go here, we go there. We were still able to have some fun, but it was all like, we all took our precautions. I mean, I learned how to swim during that time. It was like a
yeah,
huge home run.
tell us about that. So you had never learned how to swim, and
Never.
and how did that come out? Did you just happen to be talking to the fellas one day and say, I don't know how to swim? And I can see Bert going, no effing way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was, it was. So I'm born and raised in Long Beach, California. And you know what? I never learned to swim. I would go to the beach all the time growing up. I just never got in the water, and
Never went past your knees.
never, ever. And I used to go, I used to get picked up by this YMCA program, and they take you down to the YMCA there in downtown Long Beach, and they, help you out with homework. And the sale on the program for, like, as a kid, was they help you with your homework, but as soon as you're done, you get to go in the pool. And all my friends were like, they couldn't, they couldn't wait. They do the homework. They even do it on the way there, just so they had more time to be in the pool. And I would go in there, but I'm 6 feet, I'm 6'3" tall, right? So I've always been the big kid. So when I would get in the pool, I just kind of like bounce around, kind of walk and pretend that I was swimming. And that came around and bit me in the ass, because it's like I had all this time to learn, and I never did, because I was goofing off. So I never learned.
So how did you learn? Did they just throw you in the deep end like and just say swim, Jesus, swim?
Close. No.
Walk on water, Jesus.
So we had talked about it before, that I had talked about it with the guy that I never learned how to swim, and everyone was like, yeah, I learned from a young age, and everyone had their stories of how they learned how to swim. And then so before we left, Leanne came and gave me this gift bag for the tour.
That's Bert's wife, right?
Yeah, Bert's wife.
Yep.
Leanne's so sweet. She gave me this bag, and it was like a paddle board, like one of those foam kind of deals that they give little kids.
You get some water wings.
Water wings. We had the little blow up deals.
The best.
We had the
Goggles?
What you call it? Yeah, the goggles, but the snorkeling thing.
Okay, yeah.
And then
You get the flippers too?
no flippers.
No flippers. You draw the line at flippers.
No, I'm open to flippers, believe me. So they gave me that, and then later, we're talking about it, and it almost felt like an intervention. All the guys were like, we can't believe you can't swim. And then he starts just like, man, we have to teach you. And I look over, and the cameras are rolling. I'm like, oh man, this is an intervention. And they're like, we're gonna go swimming. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's why Leanne gave me the goggles and everything.
There was no explanation. Yeah, there was no explanation. It's like, here's a nice gift for the road. You might end up, in knee-high water.
Right. I put two and two together at that moment. I'm like, oh, I'm about to learn how to swim on this tour. And sure enough, it was fun. We had gone to a couple places, but it was just packed. So we kind of waited to find a place that was just, only us going in there. And we went in there, and I got a 30-minute lesson. That was the first 30-minute lesson I had ever gotten in ever. And this was in New Mexico. And I went in there, and then what was it? Was it in New Mexico? Texas. And then we went to Texas after that. I don't remember the location now. Now it's all foggy. But what I will say was I got a 30-minute lesson, and then they're like, hey, we're about to go tubing in an hour. I'm like, hey, guys, friendly reminder.
I'm not quite ready with my 30-minute lesson.
I can't even put my head underwater. Like, I'm not even there yet. Like, what are we doing tubing? So an hour later, we ended up tubing. And
Did you go?
Yeah, I went. I'm no party pooper. I went for it, but I was definitely like sweating big time.
Yep. Make sure you don't
Uh,
get dumped out, and it's
I was
probably,
scared.
I assume it was probably a place where it had a low river where you can kind of stand up
Yeah,
and
I didn't know that until later.
yeah. Usually that's what tubing is. There might be some spot that has like 5 or 6 feet deep, but I'm sure they would have taken
I
you.
did not know that until halfway through because Dave like jumped out. Like somebody dropped something and he jumped out and the water's up to his waist. I'm like, oh, come on, guys, you should have told me that.
You're like,
I
this
could
is,
have done that, but I
I'm
was
back in
still holding
Long
on for
Beach.
dear life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, one of the things flipped over on my buddy Shane, and I saw him like jump into the water, and I was like panicking. I'm like, oh, I'm next, and
This
he
is
was like,
where
yeah,
I
it's not
die.
deep. Yeah, it's not deep. I'm like, all right. So it was cool. I mean, I never tubed before either, because I'm afraid of, hey, what happens if I turn over? I won't be able to
Right.
swim. But I mean that was fun, and eventually, I just kind of went on my own and started practicing, and yeah, I think I'm okay. I'm like 60% there. I just need to learn how to move my feet as I do my hands. I showed a buddy of mine, Tony Hinchcliffe, a video of me swimming on my phone. He's
Yeah.
like, dude, he's like, you're just floating in the direction that your head's pointing. It's like, move your feet. He's like, you're just like this floating carcass in the
Right.
pool. I was
Well,
like,
that's
oh,
half the battle. I mean, floating because you don't want to sink. So if you're in that situation and that's the worst case scenario that you just float, I guess that's okay. That's 50% of it at least.
yeah, it took some time. How old were you when you learned how to swim?
I was overseas. I was a Navy brat. I was in Iceland, and I was taking I was in first and second grade, and my parents kept taking me to the lessons, and I couldn't figure it out, or maybe I didn't want to. I don't know. And then I was in between second and third grade, and I was visiting back in the States, at my uncle's house, and he said he had a pool, and they said something to the effect that like he can't swim yet, and like nah, it's like, and he goes
Oh,
and he goes. And he goes, if you swim from one end of the pool to the other, I'll give you $20. And then he just threw me, and then he threw me in.
started cracking your knuckles.
He
Like, let
literally
me do
pushed
it.
me in, and I probably had the 50% of the concept like you had, and I just somehow managed to get to the other side, and I was done, and I
Oh,
figured it
that's
out.
great.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
even my parents were just like blown away that I could swim because there's like a little pool there in the apartment building where we're at. Nobody uses it. I very rarely have in my 3 years of living there. I've seen like only a handful of people use it, and especially right now, no one's using it. I'm like, I'm jumping in the pool, and I'm like, drinking my share of water, trying to remember the stuff from tour. And then finally, I got it down, and I look over. My parents are like in the railing, just kind of looking through the
taking
fence.
pictures.
Yeah, yeah, they were amazed. Like, wow, you could really swim. And I'm all confident, and that's where I showed my buddy a video of me swimming. I'm like, "What do you think?" He's like, "You're not swimming, man. He's like, you're floating in the direction you want to go. That's it." I'm like, "Damn it!"
Your place has a whole new amenity that you never thought you'd be taking advantage of. So it's
Ever, yeah.
now you're getting your money's worth more. So
Honestly, you know what learning how to swim feels like? It feels like you get your wings back. Like it's something that you were able to do, but you never did.
yeah,
And if you did it, you never knew you did it. It's such a weird thing because it's like I'm having a ball like swimming and trying to get better at it, but it's such a great feeling, man. And it's like it sucks that I went so long without it. So, everything happens for a reason, but I'm just so
yeah.
happy that I can do it now because I'm like, I can't get enough of it, man.
That's one of those things you just take for granted. You just like assume, that everybody can do that something like that, and then like you said, so awesome, man. Well, let's pivot a bit. Let's talk about your special. So
Yeah.
your new special is out on Showtime. It's called Stay at Home Son, correct?
Stay at home, son.
Let's start with the title first. And how'd you come up with that title?
So a lot of people, when the Showtime special came out, thought that I had named the special "Stay at Home Son" because of the quarantine. And the truth of it is that I landed on the name of the special last summer, so August of last year.
Okay.
I taped the special November 2nd of last year, and it came out this year, May 29th. So
Okay.
I had already landed on it, and it was like a punchline. It was like a punchline of like my dad when I was like for a long time growing up, my dad would say, it's like you're a stay-at-home son, meaning you're how people say you're a stay-at-home husband or a stay-at-home wife. It's like you're a stay-at-home son. He's like you don't do anything. He's like, you just stay here. You're just in your room writing or drawing.
Yeah.
So I was able to put the placement of that in my last bit. But I mean, yeah, my first 1 hour special, as you can imagine, Chuck. I mean, it's a childhood dream come true. I mean, it's something I've dreamt about. I've prayed about. I've done all of it. You know, I mean, it's something I've been so fixated on since I was a kid, and to have it come true, you know, and to have it come out, you know. And there was a moment there I'm like, I don't think it's coming out, you know, because of this thing, but it's out. It got some great reviews, and you know, my friends were very supportive, and they, you know, they blasted it out on their social media. So the support from my friends and family, and yeah, it was just great.
I saw everybody. I think you were on Joe Rogan as well to promote
Yeah,
it as well?
I mean,
yeah,
I went on Joe Rogan, and you know, he's a guy who I look up to and respect so much. And you know, I'd seen him at the store, and you know, he's a very kind man. He's always a very good friend. I could say hi, and you know, I see him there at the comics bar at the store, and you know, him reaching out and be like, hey, do you want to come on to promote it? I'm like, yeah. And
he asked you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He reached out, and he had mentioned to me beforehand. He's like, hey, when it's out, you know, we'll be sure to, you know, have you on. And I didn't want to follow up. I don't want to bother the man. He's very busy. When I'm like, hey, you know, I got this thing I want to promote. He's like, get out of here. But I mean, he just, I'm a testament of how real of a dude he is. He remembered. I mean, it was something that I didn't follow up on. It was just, he told me, and then he was like, hey, special's coming out. You know, you want to do it? I said, yeah. And I couldn't sleep the night before. I was so excited. I had my outfit laid out and everything. I was just like excited to get on. But it was just, I mean, it was great. My parents came to the taping. They got to see me do the first show. And then I saw my parents leave with a bunch of craft services, a bunch of snacks. My dad got a big box. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, this is yours, right? I'm like, yeah, but
it's going to go bad.
Looking at you.
It's going to go bad.
Yeah, he had Pringles and Cheez-Its and apples and some chocolates that I had to take out of his box that he took. I'm like, you can't eat that. Everything else is cool, but chocolate's got to stay here, man.
How are your parents doing?
They're good. They're hanging in there. You know, this time is, you know, I keep going back to COVID. It's just such a challenging time, and especially with my mom's health.
Yeah, I didn't know if we could talk about that, because I know that you were just an amazing son, that you look after your parents, and they're older, right? And they're not the greatest of health, if I remember correctly, but like
they're older. They're 74, 75 now, and you know, they've had their run-ins with health problems. You know, my mom has had health issues for some time, long time actually. And, you know, she had a tumor that was removed years ago, and, you know, I'm like the primary caregiver, and things have been, you know, tough, you know, trying to juggle comedy and caregiving and life and all that good stuff. But, yeah, they're doing good right now. You know, my dad is doing well as well. You know, he's you know, he had colon cancer some time ago, and they did the surgery. They did a follow-up, and like a month ago, they did a follow-up, and the doctor was like, I don't want to see you in 3 to 5 years for another, you know, checkup. He's like, your dad's good. I'm like,
oh, nice. That's awesome.
So everything's good, but still, you know, it's like their health is a little delicate, and, you know, it requires definitely some extra patience and a little extra love. And yeah. So,
right. Well, I know how hard it is for you. Like, you know, you're only child, right?
Only child. So I'm the one that has
and you're trying to make your career, and I'm sure it's a little push-pull. I'm sure you want to stay home and, you know, help them, and I have to assume that your parents are probably like, no, go and, you know, do your stuff, and we'll be fine. But it's kind of a weird dynamic there, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the struggle, you know, because it's like you see how much, you know, they need, you know, a little extra help, and, you know, I do want to go out and work, and trying to find the happy medium of how much do I stay home, how much do I go out on the road and work. So it's tough, but they're like, you know, go out there and go work. And, you know, in the earlier years too, it's like as a comic, you're struggling, trying to find, you know, your way in comedy, and, you know, you're not making a ton of money, you know, enough to kind of get by, but it's like trying to find a caregiver and that kind of thing can be really challenging. And, you know, now I'm getting closer to be able to kind of take that on. That's always been a big dream of mine. And I think the prime reason, the prime where my sense of urgency comes in trying to get stuff done in this business is that I want to be able to like hire a caregiver. Sure, I'm still going to be around, but to be able to take on a little more work and inch in closer to my dream of, really living the full experience of being a stand-up comic. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Well, it seems like we mentioned earlier all the great things that are going on for you. So that's awesome. I hope it's paying off financially, that you are able to do a little bit more of that to have somebody look after them and such. And but
Totally. I mean, you know what's great about this business is like sometimes it's such a trip that you're like, man, it's like through all these jokes and this kind of things, like I'm able to take care of my loved ones and pay, like there's these small victories
right.
that you have along the way. It's like, you pay your phone bill, then it's like I'm paying my friend's phone bill, then it's
My
like
car's paid off. Oh my god, that's awesome.
yeah, car, and then it's like I've paid rent for how many years now? Like just from comedy, and it's like I'm able to take care of my parents' medication and this and that. Is like, oh man, so it's a bunch of little victories, and it's like I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm just happy that I could provide for my loved ones through something that I love to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also for people that are listening later on the podcast or live, if you don't have Showtime, which I do not myself, but I did notice that most people have an Amazon account, Amazon Prime, you can get a 7-day free trial on there right now and watch his special for free. So just a little heads up on that, because I'm gonna go. I did not do my homework ahead of time. I apologize, but I have not watched it. Good. But I will definitely go watch it. Not like I wouldn't have paid for it, but.
Yeah.
but when it's still available, people can go out and watch it.
Still available, and hopefully soon it'll be out on iTunes and all that. They're trying to figure out what it is, but it'll be out for, you can stream it now, or it should be coming out pretty soon in like a wide release.
Okay. Now, how does that work on the back end, on the business aspect? Did Showtime approach you? Or do you shop it around to, let's say, Netflix, HBO, etc.? How does that work? Walk me and the listeners through the process if they don't know how that's done. Especially all the new comedians that are watching, going, dreaming for that special, like like down the road and
yeah, it was definitely I feel like a lot of luck. So it first started when I met with Showtime. So I met with Showtime years ago. Let me give you the correct time frame. So this is 2019, 18. So I met with Showtime in 2017, right? And I met with them, and they were fans of my work, I guess, and they were very sweet. Just Showtime with just the people over there are just super cool, down to earth. They're huge fans of comedy, and they wanted to hopefully work together. And I'm like, yeah, I would love to. And then, I met with them a couple of times, and they expressed interest in hopefully working together in that capacity. And then before I knew it, there was they reached out and they had made an offer, and I was quite excited. I was like, man, this is like definitely what I want. But then, that's when the creative mind jumps in, the one that makes you second guess everything. I'm like, hey, am I ready? Is this too early? Am I, do I have the material to give 100% to a 1 hour special? Do I have, the jokes that, this is your first time doing a 1 hour special, your first 1 hour special. So it's like, you almost want to have a good introduction.
Yeah. Good first impression. Yeah. I mean,
totally.
That makes a difference in this world. So
huge. So it's like, I'm second guessing everything, and I'm having a conversation with my manager, and he's like, look, I think you're ready. Obviously I'm biased. I see what, you do day in and day out. He's like, you perform every day, a few times a night. He's like, you're going on the road, you're headlining. It's like, I think everything's lined up. And I had done some other projects during that time. So I had burned some more material, and I just wanted to make sure that I had it. So long story short, I agreed that I wanted to do it. And I took on this like a whole year of just putting it together. And I was going on the road, and I go to one of those shared workspaces, like a WeWork type spot. Mm-hmm. So I went there, and every week I go in there and just lay everything out on the whiteboard and try to break everything up. And I approached it in almost like a movie, like a story. I had it in 3 acts. I knew what I wanted to do, so I broke down the special in 20-minute increments. So when people watch it, I hope that comes across that it's like, you got the 20 minutes. I talk about my upbringing. Next 20 minutes is like the characters in my life, my parents and all this good stuff. And then at the end, I kind of string everything together, and capitalize on all the variables that I had set up the first 40 minutes in a 20-minute story. So the closing bit is a 20-minute story about me running the LA Marathon. And
I forgot that you did that. You did that with Bert, right? Didn't you?
I did. Yeah. I ran it with Bert, and I talk about it on the special where it's like, the journey of, training for a marathon all the way to the end. And, sometimes we do stuff to impress our parents, and, we shouldn't, you do something because you want to do it. And,
right.
It took me 26.2 miles to realize that, don't do things for other people, do it for yourself. But it's like, and then I learned something while doing the special. Is like the special is almost written twice, right? It's like the act that you write and you want to do. It's actually 3 times because it's the act that you perform that night. I did 2 shows on November 2nd. And
where'd you tape it? What theater?
At the El Portal Theater in North Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah, November 2nd. And so we did two shows there. And then it's like in the editing room, I was a part of that process too. So it's like cut here, cut that. And then that's painful, man. It's so hard. I hate
watch yourself
myself.
And yeah.
Oh, I would hear myself. I record my set, so I hear myself, and I got over that of, I sound weird, but just to kind of like change, jokes or rewrites and that kind of thing. But to see yourself, you're like, man, that nervous tick. I say that word a lot. Why am I making that face? So it was really hard. And finally, we locked picture, and then the rest was like, all right, it's out of my hands. Now it's out in the world.
But then I assume I hear so many people that afterwards they come out and you'll still pick apart your set and go, well that tag's so old now or whatever. And now I'm tagging this with something else that's funnier, nothing's ever perfect, right? I mean, like you could always make something better, but you gotta eventually just get to that point where it's like, hey, this is as good as it's gonna be right now.
And you know what I think about it too? It's like even like, name a comedian, name a special, like whichever comedian or special resonates with you. It's like, that was a snapshot in time for that comedian. It's where they were at that moment. And, it's cool to grow with somebody. It's like, I'm a huge fan of comedy. And it's like, sometimes I go back and watch the old library on a certain comic, and I watch all the specials like in order. And I'm like, man, you can see the growth, you can see this. And I just hope that people are, are willing to invest that kind of time with my jokes, that they could see this special like, hey, that's just where I was at that moment in time, November 2nd, 2019, and hopefully the next one will be better.
You're already talking bad about it. I didn't say it was bad. I'm sure it's amazing.
No, I was excited for what it was. It's like I put a lot of work into it. I had a lot of fun, but literally I remember going on the road right after and performing, and like you said, there was a tag that I came up with, some more expanding on certain premises. I'm like, dang it, that would have been perfect for the special. But it's like, anyway, that's done. On to the next one.
Now, does Showtime give you analytics, like, hey, this has been watched this many times, or do they can they track any of that stuff, and are they pleased with the outcome of what was produced and I guess the follow up after?
Yeah, so I don't know about analytics. We're gonna reach out, but I do know that like 2 months, 2 months right after, so May, June, July. So like July, it seemed like they were very pleased. Showtime had reached out, and I had done like a internal Facebook Live kind of situation for the people over at Showtime, just so people at Showtime could get familiar with me or something like that. It was just like a cool kind of like a just kind of like a chill chat that I had. Russell Peters was kind enough to moderate it, and Showtime seemed very excited, and I was too. So it's like they invited me after the special to go back and have a chat, with them. So all good signs, and hopefully I think the numbers we'll know pretty soon.
Nice, awesome. Do they pay you up front for that, or is it like afterwards after it's aired? Like for example, because you said you didn't know if it was going to be aired due to COVID-19. So is it one of those
Yeah,
scenarios where they pay you up front? So that would
yeah,
suck.
it's kind of a complicated situation, but yeah, it's like, there's payment along the way and that kind of thing. And then once it's out, it's like, there's, hopefully I can put it out there and the streaming, that's like another angle of it. But yeah, they definitely set it up where you're taken care of.
Nice. Hey, we'll pivot a bit. Now you're a golfer, or you're attempting to golf. Kind of like I love that you're starting all these things later on in life. You weren't always a golfer, right? Didn't you start recently, within the last couple of years or so?
No, I actually started when I was in college. So I worked at a golf course.
Okay.
I was a mechanic in the cart barn. I fixed carts and had them ready, and I worked the range for many years, and that's where I started. I was in college and I started there. But my godfather worked there, and I asked him that I wanted to work there. One, because I like golf, but I never knew how to get started. It's such an expensive sport,
right?
And he worked there. He was pretty good, so I started working there. Thanks to my godfather Hector. And then I met a buddy of mine who's an avid golfer now. He's really good. We both went in at the same time. My homie Angel. And he's a really good golfer, but we both went in not knowing anything. And the deal that I had with the course PGA Pro that would teach lessons there, that if I cleaned all the golf balls for his classes all week, like I would go there and whenever my shifts were, I crates of golf balls to have them ready for his students.
Yeah.
At the end of the week on Sunday, I got a free 30-minute lesson.
Oh, nice.
So I would get there early and make sure all the golf balls were clean and set up for his classes. And that's kind of where I learned. And, I learned in the range, and, I would go out and play, like whenever the boss would leave, I'd, throw in a couple of, clubs in the golf cart and just go out there and play a couple holes before it got dark. And then I'll be backed up with work with all the carts needing to be serviced. And I'm like, oh no, it's like 10 o'clock at night and I'm still hosing off carts going, dang it, they're going to be pissed with all this overtime.
Awesome.
But it was great. It was one of the best jobs I've had, because I always say any young person is like, if they want to find the perfect job through college, it's working at a golf course, because you find people from all walks of life, and
that's
it
definitely
could be
one of those jobs. Like it's it's kind of like who and there's so many people that you meet through that sport alone. It just seems to open up some doors for people down the road too.
Huge doors. It's like the people you meet. Like I would go out, like it'd be like a group of 4 people going out, all individuals that just show up. They pair you, and it's like you could be talking to like a barber, and it's like a mechanic, and this guy's a civil engineer, and this guy's a judge. And we're out there just playing, laughing, having a beer, smoking a cigar, what have you. But this game is it's such a beautiful game, and that's where I got hooked, man. I got really, really hooked. And even like a cooler thing about that is that me working at that golf course, every club that I own, which I, have every single club that was gifted to me, but I basically put together a set gifted by different people. The driver was given to me by a retired Marine, tailor-made burner. I have some Mizuno blades that were given to me by this heart surgeon doctor. My wedges were given to me by a PGA Pro.
Nice.
And my putter, my first club ever, was given to me by my godfather. And then the bag that I have, which, by the way, the putter I have, it's like those, it's a PAL 2. It's like old school. I put the jumbo grip on it. Love it. I can't play with any other putter. It's like the only one I know how to putt with.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and the bag I won in a raffle. So, golf is a big part of, my upbringing as a young adult. It was like how I met a lot of people.
And then in your comedy world, you transpired that knowledge of golf into a golf show, right? Are you still doing that golf show? What was it called?
Tea Time with Jesus Trejo.
Okay, was that just self-produced, or is that through another company?
It was All Things Comedy.
Okay.
Al Madrigal and Bill Burr's company, All Things Comedy.
Okay.
And Mike Bertolina down there were kind enough. I approached him with this idea. I'm like, I have this idea where it's just playing golf and talking smack.
I thought of the
let's do
same
it.
thing at one time, and I just didn't. You went to you created it before I did. Had a my title was called Shanks for Playing.
Oh, nice.
But the same concept was like, hey, just get comedians and whoever just to talk shit and play golf, and because
Totally.
I'm surprised you didn't try and shop that to the golf channel. I think it.
Yeah, we definitely tried it. We were gonna, get more together and kind of create a, kind of like a highlight reel of what the show is. And, I had an idea what the show was gonna be early on, but then in the editing room, as I was learning, is like the show can take another form completely. And, we were definitely trying to figure out what that was. And
There's a lot of moving parts
a lot of moving parts
for
a lot of them.
Getting all the holes and the shots and. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
and especially
difficult.
is like it could require a huge budget. That's what we realized when I was out there. But I think we got the gist of it. It was still fun. I think anyone who's into golf really enjoyed it. And I think the big goal of it of the show was like, how do we get people who are not fans of golf also interested in the show? Like where you don't have to know golf through and through. I think it super resonated with people who are into golf. And people who weren't really, they're like, oh, there's a whole lot of golf talk in there, but
Right.
it was fun.
I watched every one of them. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, you had Bird on there, John Reap, right?
Yeah,
John did this podcast a few weeks ago. Yeah, nice guy and horrible golfer.
It was so funny. I thought he was playing with me. And then he goes up there and
Sorry, John.
No,
If you're
oh,
watching.
he knows. But like we had a ball, and that was proof that that show was fun regardless of golf ability or golf knowledge, for the viewer. And it was just a fun episode, and I want to shoot more, but again, COVID. We'll see when they let us go back out there, and we definitely have a cleaned up, a version of it. It was evolving from the first episode to the last one that we shot. It was evolving, and I think we have it down now. But we'll see.
How many did you do?
4.
4.
Yeah, we did 4 episodes.
I hope you do some more because I want to see it. I mean, if you want to do an agent one and have me out, I will absolutely.
That'd be great. I'm totally up for it.
I just put that in your brain right now because I swear I'll fly out there just go play a round of golf. That it looks like so much fun. So so I'm all in. So all right, let's talk about your latest project. I assume it's your latest. Tacos Con Todo. Is that how I say it?
You said it right. Tacos
I took French.
Tacos
I screwed up. I should have taken Spanish. I don't know why, but I did not. So let's talk about that. So that's your new web series
with First We Feast,
right? And that's huge.
Yeah, it was great. I got really lucky. I feel I keep saying lucky because I'm like, oh, I don't know how these things happen, but I'm very excited. I'm getting paid to eat and have laughs with my friends. So this is a dream gig. We're on our second season now. First season was great. The numbers were super great, and that translated into a second season. And we're doing it right now. So first episode, second season is out. Second episode drops tomorrow. Actually,
okay.
We got Tiffany Haddish on that one.
Oh,
and,
nice.
It's just great, and the format is a little different because again, COVID. So we're not doing it in the field. We're doing it through Zoom kind of thing, kind of like this.
Yeah.
And we're doing ordered, like we're ordering. Some episodes we order the same thing. Sometimes we order different stuff. So we do the Uber Eats kind of thing, just as a friendly reminder that you could, support your local, taquero during these crazy times. And yeah, it was so exciting. They reached out, they wanted me to host this show. They already kind of had it built up. I had a meeting with them in New York.
This wasn't your idea that you pitched to them. They reached out to you.
Yeah. They reached out to me. Justin Bolles, the EP on it. He had seen an episode that I did with Bobby Lee, the Tiger Belly episode, a Tiger Belly episode of his podcast, right?
Okay.
And he saw that one, and he had, he had seen some more stuff, but he's like, man, I saw that one. I was like, man, let's have a meeting kind of thing. And I happened to be in New York during that time, so I went down to Complex, had a meeting. It was supposed to be a 30-minute meeting. 2 hours later, I walk out of there, shaking hands, going, "Thank you so much for having me." We're talking sneakers and, complex everything, pop culture, everything. And then First We Feast. I'm a big fan of food, so we're talking hours about fucking food and. Ooh,
No, you can say whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
I was
no.
like, ooh, I got too comfortable there.
I was gonna throw no. This is absolutely laid back, comfortable is key. If you're watching or listening, First We Feast is huge for. You might not know that name, but you might know what Hot Ones is. Hot Ones is the interview question, a web series where the guests eat hot wings, and they've got billions of views. So for you to be a part of this, I was like, holy shit, Jesus.
Yeah, no, it's great. And Sean Evans was so kind and welcoming. Shout out to Sean Evans and the whole Tacos Con Todo crew. The crew is just amazing, man. Like, I feel like I lucked out big time from the EP to the guys doing the sound, camera, like editing, like all of it. They're all like grade A people, and it just such a fun show. It's like I told my dad, I'm like, yeah, I get paid to eat tacos. He's like, you're full of it. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I can't imagine that conversation that first time you go home and tell your parents and say, hey.
Yeah, and they watch the episodes and they're like, man, that's pretty cool. And they're definitely like, how come you never have taken us there? I'm like, because it's very unhealthy. It's delicious, but very unhealthy. That's why.
Here's some craft services from my special that are left over, Dad.
But yeah, my parents want to go to all the taco spots, and I take them to a couple, but there's some that it's like, oh, I can't take you there. It's very unhealthy. And yeah, I go to all of them all
That's
the time.
That's not a good plug for those places if they're unhealthy, I guess. But
no, that means they're delicious.
Yeah, I know.
Delicious.
No, I know. That was my next thing. But I bet they taste amazing. Do you get free stuff there now every time you go, or?
People are very generous.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely go visit, all the spots, that I've visited in season 1 and that we're doing here in season 2, and they're all very generous. What I love about this show is that, we get to showcase the taquero, the business, the family, and we have some great stories on the first season and second season too. It's just, there's just this spirit of like a love for food and entrepreneurial like spirit, and it just shows. People are just very passionate, with their recipes, and some of these recipes are like family recipes that have been passed down, and now they've created a whole business around it. Multiple trucks, some of them have, and some people have like a physical location and the taco trucks to go along with it. So it's really cool to like hear these stories and get to taste the food. So, and I made a lot of friends. So yeah, it's like they're very generous when I go out there. They take care of me and my friends when I go out there. But yeah, just a great show, and hopefully we have a season 3. That would be phenomenal. Get to do it in the field again.
Well, plus that whole if you've never been to a taco truck in LA, I've only done it once, to be honest with you. And
really?
I haven't been to LA a lot of times, maybe about 10 times or so, but like that's just an ordeal. That's like a rite of passage, and I didn't know it was until I went. So, and it was like 2 a.m. at a taco truck, and I remember going up and there's the huge thing of meat like on the spinner.
Yeah, the top.
And he's just slicing it off and just putting it right on a taco and handing it to you, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was, I mean, I might have been a little bit inebriated at the time, but still, it was a rite of passage, and it was just amazing, and it was just so when you have encapsulated that feeling. So I feel for that. So it's cool, like that you've gotten that show and taken.
Yeah, no, it's super cool, and it's like the feeling. It's like we were definitely trying to capture that feel of, you do a show, you get out of the comedy clubs. Comedy clubs out here in LA close at 2:00. So it's like after your last set or after the club shuts down, to go out there with your friends and, you order some tacos and you're eating them on the hood of your car or right outside of the truck. Like that's the feel of the show. And the first season, I mean, you could definitely see that. And it just captured like comics. Like if you can be a fly on the wall when comics are having a late night bite after a show, that's what the feel of the show should be. And it feels like we got that across, definitely.
Yeah,
so.
The hang, right? Just
the
all
hang,
about the hang.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good. Even I get the hang sometimes. On the other side of the fence on the business side, but it's still fun hanging out with good people and doing that. So when did that? Obviously, that was done. When did you first start that series? Was that last
We
summer?
yeah, we did it last towards yeah, like around summer all the way into like the end of last year, and then the first season actually came out at the beginning of this year.
Okay.
And then we jumped right into a second season, and we tried to figure out what the look of the show was going to be moving into the second season. And we're shooting it in studio. I'm in studio with a very lean production team,
Yeah.
and we're doing it over the computer.
Well, it seems to work. I mean, even with Sean with his show, it was the same thing as a learning, I guess, a learning curve for everyone in this, and he seemed to do it well, and I think you guys have done it just as good. So
Yeah, thank you, man. So we'll
kudos.
see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Season 3.
So
if you're ever out here, Chuck, man, if you're ever out here again, man, we got to go taco truck hop.
Yeah, we're gonna taco truck. We're gonna golf. We're just gonna make a day out of it.
All of it. Heck yeah. Right.
So what's next on your plate, man? I mean, you've had such an amazing last, like, say, year and a half of your career. Do you have anything else in the hopper, or have you peaked for the year?
I don't know. We'll tell. Time will tell if I peak. But I love to have a bunch of stuff, on the stove cooking, and I'm working on a couple projects now. Which I'm excited for. I don't know if I'm at liberty to say, but I'm definitely writing a bunch. I will say that, developing more ideas and that kind of stuff, and then definitely writing and trying to expand the existing stuff that I have now. So it's like I'm writing stand up, getting ready to see what that looks like when we get back on the road. So I'm doing more of that stuff, and just trying to create more content, and working on the podcast. I haven't mustered the courage to release an episode. I've recorded, I don't know how many episodes, and they're just sitting on the computer. I'm like, I don't know that I want to put that out yet. So congratulations to you,
Thanks,
on the podcast. This is, it takes a lot of work. People don't understand the work that it takes it's fun once you do it, but then it's a lot of work. So I'm trying to figure that out, and trying to juggle all this other stuff that I'm doing. And just writing. I think my time is definitely consumed during this time with a lot of writing. It's my happy place, and I'm having a ball doing it.
Nice. So what's the one thing that's if you could, like, the mecca of your comedy career, like if you could get that, what is that? Like, is it a Netflix special? Is it? I mean, you already had your your Showtime special. What's next that you would be like, all right, if I never get anything else in my comedy career, I'd be happy to continue just doing jokes or wherever I can, but that was the zenith. Do you know what that would be? Is it a movie or?
I think
you thought that far.
Yeah, I'm a guy who loves to dream. I'm a big dreamer. I like to, think and just use my imagination to see where this thing could go. But I mean, if I could just keep putting out special after special, I mean, that would be great. If I can continue to find like a place for me to put out like if I can put out another special, that would be like, it would mean the world to me. And if I could put out another special after that until, I can't talk anymore, basically.
So you're gonna do this until you die. Comedy is your life now.
Yeah, comedy is my life. It's like I've been able to do comedy full time since 2012, and it's like that feeling. I don't want to go back to mowing lawns, because that's what I did with my dad. It's like, and I took over the business, so I know what that feeling is like.
You can be a swim teacher maybe down the road.
Yes, I could do that too. I just want to be able to put out more specials. I think that's like where it's at. But I do want, I like to work on the TV show. I like to work on the movie. I like to work on the book. I like to work on, everything. I like to think that I'm a super creative person, and I'm always like working. It's like I learned that from my dad. You got to work hard, and I definitely attack, even though it's not a physical like labor type of thing. My dad taught me that, to work very hard, and I'm applying my work ethic into comedy and the creative endeavors. So hopefully my hard work pays off.
Yeah, having a good work ethic is definitely something just to to be awesome to have that, because not everybody has that. I mean,
yeah, it's like I may not be the funniest, but I'll outwork anyone. So
yeah.
I mean, I got that going for me, and eventually, hopefully I can catch up. If not, it's like I just know that I can work hard and hopefully put out content that people like and it resonates with.
Right. Awesome. Well, this is the part of the show that's called the check drop. You know what that is. At the end of every comedy club show, they come out and drop the checks while you still need to be funny and such. I kind of just let this be your point of the show where we wrap it up, whether you tell one of your best moments in your comedy career or one of your worst, or if you want to plug anything else, which it seems like we've already done most of that. But like, how would you like to wrap out this finish out this show?
Yeah, also I like to promote there's a documentary that's out now.
I forgot about
stream
that.
Yeah, it's called Care to Laugh. ARP Studios did a documentary where they followed me follow my family and I for a year as I juggled comedy life and being a caretaker. And you can see this whole journey during this documentary. That's when I got the Late Show. And that was my first late night appearance. So, you see me going on the road with my folks and, figure stuff out. So that's out now.
How can people watch that?
It's streaming now, or you can download it on iTunes, I believe.
Okay.
Or check out aarp.org/care to laugh. And there's all the links there where people can go and download it. We did the film festival circuit. It got some great reviews, and you can check that out there. Some of the write-ups, and you can learn more about the film. And also, if people are caregivers out there, I always say, if you're a caregiver, know that you're not alone. It may seem like a lonely road, but you're not. There's resources out there, and I know that ARP has a bunch of resources that people could benefit from, both caregivers and caregivees. So ARP.org and /care to laugh is for the documentary, but you find all the links there in that same page. And what else? I'll just say thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you, Chuck.
Yeah,
this is so cool, man. Congratulations on the podcast, and thank you for always being grade A with me, man. You've been very kind, and I'll never forget that.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, the years of working with you. I mean, we're not done. We're going to work together.
We're not done. That's right.
Again soon, I'm sure. So, but kudos to you again. I mean, I can't think of anybody else should deserve it more than you. I mean, you're just such a good dude, man. So I appreciate you coming on, and I guess we'll leave it at that, and we'll see everybody on the next one. If you need a comedian for anything, go to summitcomedy.com. If you need to book Jesus for some swim lessons down the road, we can maybe work that out too. Yeah. So everybody have a great night, and we'll talk to everyone soon on the next one. Later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.